So I decided to talk about my eating disorder for a minute. My family really never discussed it, which is part of the problem of having an eating disorder. You know, I grew up reading Little House on the Prairie books, and I read them 2 or 3 times. I loved them so much back in my days, and I think I kind of lived in that. And the things in my life were not always that great, and the family. But so I thought I could just eat and throw. Well, I was going to be a model, wanted to be a model, to have a feeling of purpose. My schooling wasn't going so good, and so that was exciting, to kind of be a person that people looked up to for being pretty. Although now that I look back, all the girls are pretty in their teenage years. I was pretty proactive, but it was really hard. I was about 140, and felt like I needed to lose some weight to be a model. I didn't really realize it. Because of my height, 5'7", I could never really be a model, but I did locally. I was, like I said, I got my little car and went and did jobs and things like that, got my pictures taken, and it paid pretty good, like $80 an hour. But I developed an eating disorder for several reasons. One, my parents' marriage was breaking up, so there was a lack of communication in the family, and I was living with a family that had a lot of money. Like, a lot of people did, like, to not ever have to worry about money. Being that wealthy and having a plane, I mean, it was just so, like, wow. It was what I thought was a great way to live without having to worry about money, because my family was always, talking about the struggles of not having as much money as they wanted. And see, part of that was the fact that their relationships weren't that good. So, my dad and mom both had mental health issues, so it was tough. They didn't get along, and my dad was like, oh yeah, go party, go do whatever you want to with that wealthy family. And my mom was opposite. She said, no, you need to be home. So that was a conflict, parents not getting along. But when I got to college, they sent me, even though I had an eating disorder, they still sent me to VCU, and I met my boyfriend, who was also from Roanoke, but he was an artist. And I couldn't really see myself, but I guess I was really, really skinny, because I wasn't having my period, and I had that little hair on your tongue, lango, and nobody really talked about it. But I didn't have to be on birth control, and that was my first boyfriend, and I was throwing up probably 4 or 5 times. It was a constant thing, and he put up with it, and I never really thought about how good he was to me. I think he had a sensitivity to want to help me and love me, which I was too young for commitment and all that, but he was honest. Like, we were making French toast during Christmas, because it was a Christmas break, and we were staying at his apartment. I didn't really have anywhere to go because my family was dissolved, and we went and we bought bread and eggs at the 7-Eleven, but we didn't have any more money, so we stole a lot of half and half in sugar, because he liked to make his with sugar. And those were good memories, being truthful and honest with people that care for you, even though you're having a hard time psychologically. He did say one time my breath was stinky when I was throwing up. He had a girl that liked him, and they would flirt sometimes. I don't know that he cheated on me in such a way, but he was a young guy too. He was probably like 24, 25, but I did form a connection with him, which was something that I needed, and probably helped me to survive until the fact that my family got organized enough to get me in a hospital. The first hospital they chose was a month-long program at UVA, and so I went there, and of course you're not going to be thrown up in the hospital, and it's kind of a safe territory to live in. But then when I got home, my dad came and bought me a bunch of food for the apartment in the summer, and I was living with my boyfriend, and he's like, oh no, she's gonna throw. And sure enough, I did. I threw everything up. I ate it and I couldn't stop. People get mad at you. Like, I remember I was at the beach and I couldn't control it, so I drank some milk of another family, and I put water in it because I couldn't stop. I mean, it's a true addiction. This eating thing is a true, somehow chemical addiction that you get. And I couldn't stop. And one of my cousins let me live with him for a month, and he set me up a studio to paint in and everything. And then they sent me to a program at St. Albans where I became like where I could gain a little bit of weight. I think I was up to maybe 127 or 125. I was having my period, and I was still throwing up some, but not nearly as much. And everybody's like, control yourself. You can't. When you have an eating disorder, for some reason you can't control yourself. And sure, yeah, like my boyfriend was really mad I ate all of his Oreos. He was like, just don't eat the Oreos. Poor thing. But I think what really helped me finally get over it was when I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, Hillary. Because my family was so spread apart, nobody was talking. There was no family, really. I mean, but for some reason, just getting pregnant, and also I was like, oh, I can get fat now. I can eat. I felt like I could eat. And so that helped me break the cycle of it. And I did get fat. I was almost 200 pounds. And I gave birth to my daughter. And I think that closure of like having a love, some person to love, was I just grew apart with him. You know, we were together really off and on for 7 years. We kept in touch, but it was pretty. I think he also sensed the bipolar problems too, because a couple times he told me that I could get rage, and I don't remember doing that, but I may have. But yeah, no, it's been a real interesting kind of journey through psychological, and meeting all the people that I met in the hospitals and the therapy and all that. It's I'm very, I think, learned when it comes to psychology somewhat with people. And I don't know medicines at all. You know, I'm not a doctor, but, you know, I can tell when somebody's having a problem.